Hello everyone. So I've been trying for a while now and I finally managed to rig my character with the UE4 skeleton so that the default animations for the mannequin as well as any animation downloaded from the marketplace will actually work on my character. Currently on the screen you can see the third person run animation of mannequin being applied to my character. Uh, So I've seen a lot of people asking questions on how to use UEFY script for their custom characters, and I myself was looking for such tutorial, but find I didn't find one that works for me. So I decided to actually share my workflow for any other people that are currently in my situation. As a quick disclaimer, I am no expert by any means in animation and 3D modeling software like Blender, so some of the terms I use in Blender might not be entirely correct, so sorry about that, but keep that in mind. So, in this tutorial, we'll use UEFY script version 2.1.4 and Blender version 2.91.2 and UE4 version 4.26. So I'm going to close these two and I'm going to open a Blender scene and yep, we can get started. First we have a Blender scene opened here. We should first delete these three objects, and I'm just going to hide this animation view. The first thing that we want to do is to actually change the unit scale to be 0.01 because this is the preferred scale and the one that Unreal works with. And then I'm going to click N, and then I'll move to the View tab and increase these to 50 meters so I can see better. And yep, after that we'll have to install the UEFY script version 2.1.4. We can do it from this edit and click preferences, and then on the add-ons tab we can just hit install and find our zip file containing the UEFY script. So I'm not going to install it because I already have installed it. You can see that it is enabled. The other thing that we want to make sure that we have enabled is the Riggify script that is actually bundled with the new Blender versions. So it should be enabled, but just check it in any case. And apart from that, yeah, I think we can get started after this little setup. So one thing that I noticed is that after the UEFY script is enabled, then one might need to restart the Blender because sometimes it just throws some errors and I couldn't figure out why, but just restart Blender in any case. So first I'm going to import my character that I want to rig with the Unreal Engine 4 skeleton. So I'm going to File, Import FBX, and I'm going to select my character here. I'm not going to import any animation, and the armature settings will be left like that. Yep, so here's the main character. First we want to make sure what's the scale of this character. I'm going to click N again, then select the mesh, then go into item tab, and we see that our character is 1.8 meters high. This is okay, but the scale is the scale is 100, so we should click Control A and then apply all transforms like that. So it is important that these here are zeros and these here are ones. And after that, we can import our reference mannequin skeleton, which is implemented from UEFY script. So we click Shift A, then armature, then UEFY script, then reference skeleton, and use the basic posing skeleton. I'm going to the bone properties, no, the object data properties, and then in the viewport display settings, I'm going to bring this skeleton in front of the mesh so you can see better. As you can see, he is currently in T-pose, and we'll have to actually modify the skeleton so that it matches our mesh. So I'm going to try and do that as quickly as possible. First, we're going to click on the skeleton, then click Tab to go in edit mode, and then I'm going to hide this right part, this right arm of the skeleton by selecting the armature and then and clicking H. Then I'm going to also do the same for the legs. And yep, with that we can start actually fitting the armature inside the mesh. We can first rotate this whole arm, and that is easily done by clicking on this armature bone and then Shift S, move the cursor to the selected object, and then we want this to be our pivot point of the rotation, so we click here and use the 3D cursor as pivot point. Then we select the armature for the left hand, click R and then Z to rotate it on the Z axis. Then we can click R and then rotate it on Y axis. So something like this. Then we can move the rest of the bones a bit lower by clicking G and then Z to move them on the Z axis. We should check that from the top view. It's also looking good like that. Then we can select this bone, Shift S, move the cursor to the selected, and we can rotate again from here. Then first we want to rotate it on the Y axis just a little bit. Sorry, I see that I've selected one additional bone and I selected it. So yeah, rotate it by the Y axis and then scale it a little bit down so that it fits the hand a little bit better. Then we can also move this a little bit more down and then a little bit more right. Then rotate it a little bit, and I think that should do it. Then going over these fingers, we should just go one by one and fix them. It is a little bit tedious, but there is no other way to do it. At least I haven't found any other way. So let's do it one by one. First I'm going to hide those. Then this one, and this one here. So just deal with the pinky, move it like that. Something like that. Then I'm going to click Alt and H to show everything again. Then I'm going to hide these ones, and these ones, and these ones. Then move this one in place. Okay, it's fine. I'm going to click my numpad 5 button to change perspective. Okay, this one's fine. I'm going to also move this one a little bit up, this one as well. Alt and H again. Do the same for this. So it looks okay. Then moving to the next one. Hiding the rest. Yep, something like this. Then I'll deal with the thumb finally. So Alt and H again, show everything. Then we want to select those bones on the right. Right click on any of them, symmetrize, so that we have them set up the same on the right side. Then we want to deal with the legs. That will be a bit faster. So select those, bring them around here, select those, bring them like this. Okay, and the rest looks fine. Then we select all the bones from the left leg, right click, symmetrize, and of course you can do it better than that. I'm just showing it as a reference and I don't need to spend any more time on this one. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to parent the I'm going to make this armature parent to the mesh. So I click the mesh, then shift click the armature, then I click Control and P, and we want to parent with automatic weights. So in my case, this procedure takes a little bit longer than expected because my mesh is like a really high poly, like 200K, and yeah, that's why it takes a bit more time. So yep, so we have here the armature, which is parent to the mesh, because if we click on the armature and then click G and we move it, then the mesh moves with it. And we can also test that the bones work and they deform the mesh correctly. So we go into pose mode, select any bone actually. Here we want to actually our pivot point should be the median point, so return it as default, and then Shift and S, return the cursor to the origin. And now if we rotate this bone, we see that it actually works kind of okay. Of course, you can mess around with weight paint and all that. That can be done while with selecting the mesh and object mode, then going to weight paint. So here on the right in the object data properties, we also have the vertex groups that are assigned to each bone. So here, for example, for the head, this is our weight paint, so it looks quite alright, but of course it can be improved. So you can do that yourself if you need to, but that's not part of this tutorial. So going back to the object mode, we will now want to actually import the UE4 mannequin for the next step. So file, import FBX. I'm using Unreal Engine 4.26, so I have exported the mannequin from Unreal Engine. If you don't know how to do that, you can go to mannequin and the mesh, and then right click on the mesh, asset actions, export, and then export the FBX of the mannequin. So we want to check some important properties and options while importing the mannequin. So we don't want any animation, and on the armature we want automatic bone orientation checked, and that's that. So here's our mannequin. If we click G and then Y and then hold Control and move it a little bit to the back, so we can see better what's happening. So here's our mannequin. It has a few level of details, so I can actually remove those so we see better the mannequin. So this is the mesh, and this is its rig and its armature. So one thing to notice here that is actually very important is that if we click on the mannequin's armature and then click tab, then maybe first select the armature and put it in front so you can see better, then select tab, hide those bones, and those ones. We can see that if we turn on the names of the bones, they will be identical to our current armature bone names because we used the UEFY script reference armature, and that's very important. Also, the axes are going to also be correct. So we want, for Unreal Engine, we want our x-axis here to point to the back of the skeleton, and for the thumbs we want the x-axis to point downwards like that. So this is also pretty much set up for our armature as well. So we know that the rows are correct. So this is something that is very important to check. And we can turn off the names and the axes now for both armatures. Then there is a little pre-processing step for the mannequin as well that is also implemented in the UEFY script. So we want to make sure that this armature is names called root, and our armature is called armature, the character's armature, and then we click refresh. So these two here are correct. So then we want to fix our mannequin because these bones are not improperly imported. So fix, so that they point towards our character. So now everything looks fine. Okay, so then we can go to object mode, yes, and hide this mannequin. We will use it later. So now we import. So now we'll use the Riggify add-on that comes bundled with Blender. We click Shift A, then Armature, then Human Metallic. So because of our unit scale, which is 0.01, this armature is really small here. So we click S, then type 100. And then we want to scale it a little bit down so it matches the shoulders of our main character. Let's first put it in front so you can see it better, then scale it down just about like that. And yep, it's important to also for the scale to be 1:1:1. So we click on the armature, Control and A, apply all transforms. So now we have 1:1:1. So after that, what we want to do is to actually match this Riggify armature to our current armature. So we're going to use two more functionalities for UEFY, from UEFY script. The first one is fix metric, which will remove all unnecessary bones like these ones for the facial animation, and also some other bones. So fix metric, we will remove those. And then we want to have the same pose as our main character here that we just set up. So we click pose metric. So it's actually doing pretty good job, but we still have to fix two minor things. One is the legs and the other thing is the spines. So you see that they don't match perfectly. So we're going to first fix these two bones here. So we can hide our armature for now and work only on the metric. So click tab to go in, click on the armature, then tab to go in edit mode. Click on this bone, then G, X, move it up here, then G, X, move it here, and then going into the side view, G, Y, and let's leave it like that. Then right click, symmetrize, so this other bone goes here, so we are done with the feet. And the next thing that we want to do is to fix the spine. So we're going to enable our armature of the character, select in object mode, select the armature, then select the metric, and then go into edit mode by using tab. And now we can also hide our mesh and then hide these bones here, selecting them and clicking H, then select those, click H, and so we are left only with the spines. So I want to select all the bones from the spine from the metric. So we click on one of the bones, we see that here it says metric, so this is good. Then we hover our mouse on other bone of the metric and click L, then hover on the upwards part of the armature and click again L. So here we only have the metric selected, and we want to go into the side view and then first match these two bones together so the neck fits perfectly fine. Then we want to click those three bones here again in side view, click G, move them here, click those two, move them here, click this one, move it like this, then this one like this, and now let's fix the head. So this is the metric bone, yes. So we move it like that and then like that. So if we now enable our if we hide our metric, there should be much of a difference, and they're pretty much the same. So now we can click Alt and H to show everything, and we can also show the mesh. Okay. Yeah, that one thing that I didn't mention is that when we import the metric from the Riggify plugin, it should be called metric in order for the fix metric and post metric buttons to work. I forgot to click refresh list here to see that this object is correct, but still, yeah, UEFY figured this one out. So just check this value here if you have any problems posing or fixing and posing the metric. So using our metric, let's hide our armature for a little bit. Go into object mode and using this metric, we can use one functionality from Riggify, which is called generate rig. And let's put this rig in front so we can see it better. Then what we want to do is click on our mesh and then click use one more functionality from UEFY called extract mesh. So this brings our mesh up here and it's completely separated from the armature that we built earlier. So we hide this armature and we hide the meta rig, we don't need that anymore, and we only have the rig. We click refresh here to make sure this object is found by UEFY. Then having the rig here selected, we can parent the mesh to the rig. First click on the mesh, then hold shift and click on the meta rig, then Control and P, and then now we will use just armature deform. Then click on build skeleton. This takes again a bit more time because my mesh is like a really high poly. Right, so we are currently in pose mode automatically. Then if we select this rig here and we move it with G, we can see that the rig actually works pretty well. We can select those, rotate them on the Z axis. For example, we can move this one like that. So you can see that it's actually working pretty well. So what we still have to do is to actually go into object mode and then export this to Unreal Engine 4. So we're going to do that by selecting the mesh, then holding shift, selecting the rig, and we should make sure that it's called armature. So file, export, FBX, and then on my desktop in Blender rigging folder, or no, just on the desktop file, call it like my character, and we should click here only to export the selected objects. This is very important. Then we don't need any bake animation. We only want to deform the bones, and we don't want any leaf bones from the skeleton. And then we click export. So now we can move to Unreal Engine and import our character. So this is the exported character that we want to drag and drop into this Unreal Engine 4 side-scroller template project. We want to have the skeleton set to none so that it generates a new skeleton for our character, and leave the rest of the options to their defaults. This will take a little bit of time to import, because again this is a high poly character and it's not game ready yet. So character is imported and it's textured. One thing that I forgot to show you guys is that in Blender this character is textured and UV unwrapped, so I have the material also applied to him, but that is not important for the rigging, so I didn't show that one to you. And now we have here the mesh, the physics asset, and the character skeleton imported. And before we are ready to retarget uh, the some of the mannequin animations to our newly imported character, we should make sure that some options for the skeleton are valid. So here in the skeleton tree, here in the skeleton tree, we want to click options and then show retargeting options, then right click on root, cursively set translation retargeting to skeleton, then click on the first one, set to animation, click on the pelvis, set to animation scaled, and for the inverse kinematics, right click on the foot root and then recursively set to animation, and for the hand foot again recursively set to animation. Then here we should click apply to asset, and then in the retarget manager, in the select trick option, we should choose the humanoid trick, then save this asset. And as we can see here, if we move a little bit the neck or the head, for example, everything is working. And now the retargeting in the mannequins animation, let's pick the run one, but it will work with any animation from the marketplace or any animation that is just default to Unreal. So right click, retarget anim assets, duplicate, and then we should uncheck this, show only compatible skeletons, select the skeleton of our character that we just imported, then I'll change the export location for the retargeted animation, and I'll bring it to the newly created folder for my character. Click OK, then retarget, so we see that it's properly retarget and it's here. If we double click it, then just remove the bones hierarchy so you can see it better. So just look, there are a few things that are not really well weight painted, and that's mostly because of the high poly and not well and not clean topology of the mesh. But yeah, you can see that his bone is looking a bit weird. Also, his fingers are a bit weird as well. But yeah, for the purpose of this tutorial, it pretty much serves the purpose. And if you want to go back into Blender and fix those, you can do that yourself. And yep, just to see this animation in action, probably you can just place it over here, move our character here, and yep, you see it working in game. Like that. So yep, that's about it, guys. I hope this tutorial is useful for you, and if you have any questions you can leave them in the comments. And yep, bye guys.